Hello, everyone. Ohio gozaimasu. Welcome to Ohio Anime. My name is John, and we're here to talk about anime. Yes, it's Ohio Anime, and it's not morning here, but it is in Japan, so that's how we're getting away with that. It's been a minute since we've had one of these. I apologize for that. Hopefully getting back into a more regular rhythm with it. We've had recently over on the regular show on Popcast and the Rocks, we've been covering a lot of stuff on there, like The Penguin from HBO Max, and now Dune Prophecy, also from HBO Max. So, but we're here today on the anime show to talk about surprise anime, and I'm gonna have, I say we're gonna have a couple guests joining us. Tonight's big topic will be Terminator Zero. So Terminator Zero was kind of surprised to me. I had heard about this show coming, but hadn't looked into it. Hadn't really cared about the Terminator series in a while. But yeah, this came out, and then everybody started saying, "Hey, it's the best thing this Terminator has had in a long while." Based on that, had to check it out. It's done by production IG, who I know of from Ghost in the Shell, just the standalone complex series, which I stuck with for a while, and then I felt like Ghost in the Shell was another thing that just started to get watered down. It was just too much, lost kind of some of its meaning. So got a couple things we'll go over before the others get here. Talk about what I've been watching other than Terminator Zero, and maybe a couple news stories if we have the chance. So we'll let's see. I'll start with what I've been watching and reading and stuff. So reading and watching has been both Dan. So Dan is a manga I started a while ago, I guess, whenever that started. I don't know what drew me to it. Maybe the crazy colors on the screen, on the page. And then I was very interested in, what do you know? Here comes an anime. So this last week I watched episodes 6 through 8. Did they release episode 9? I'm caught up. So maybe there was an episode 9 in there too. I think so. And it was funny because my wife was saying, I didn't want to watch Dune Prophecy that night because she wanted to watch something a little lighter. And then we get to the kind of heft that I think episode 8 provides in Dan. So for those that have seen it, I won't spoil anything here with that. But Dan. It's been exactly what I've been looking for from that show, and so I've been happy to see it continue on. I see that a little distracted. It had a connection issue, I guess. Hopefully that was not noticeable. And then we have our first guest in here, so we'll get him here straight away. Mike, how's it going?
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well. Good. Yeah. Nice. Well, it's been a long time since you've been on the show.
No kidding. Yeah, I've been wanting to get back on this for quite a while, but the schedules just never mixed. They never blended well.
Yeah. Well, before we get all into, why don't you, Liberty, know what you've been busy with? And I'll show your YouTube here.
Thank you.
Liberty, know off the cuff here.
Yeah, well, I mean, throughout the summer, while you guys were doing this, we had a lot of race events. And then, we've done some calculations that for essentially every race event, there's, upwards of 40 hours of prep that goes back into that. This is it. This is Autobahn. This was our last event of the year. This is out in Chicago. first time ever at that track, and so there was a lot of prep, and this one was unique in that I didn't have any access to the track through like the simulator that I usually use to prepare for a place that I haven't been before. So I was totally blind going into this, short of watching other YouTube videos, which it's helpful to get an idea of the layout, right? But there you can't practice break points. All the cars are different. Everybody's driving style is different, and so the approach is wild. And like this corner that we're going through, this series of corners, they're real big commitment corners, so you kind of had to work up to that throughout the weekend. And tires faded. It was the last one of the season. We were trying to make it through a whole season on one set, and and ended up pushing it real hard at the end here. Probably not in this video, but there's another clip out there on Instagram of me just saying screw it, one last hurrah, and that's exactly what it was. Little spin, little brown pants moment that happened that weekend. So but yeah, between the travel, the prep, getting the car ready, making sure, doing all the nut and bolts checks, some upgrades that were happening throughout it, some tuning changes and whatnot. There's just a lot of work that goes into it in between. On top of that, we had all my kids' sports, that were happening. He's super active, with that regard. So it was a really busy season. Yep.
Nice.
Now a little bit of time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. It's always fun to watch, and it's so many big changes this year for you. So
right,
excited going forward.
Thank you. Yeah, the car went through a massive transformation there. That other one, that 117.5 at Blackhawk, that ended up being a track record for the class that we would fit into for ST4. So that's pretty cool. And considering, awesome. It's fresh build, this is effectively a shakedown year, testing everything. So that was pretty awesome.
Very cool.
And another track I hadn't been to.
Well, yeah, I love that you're putting the stickers on your car of all the different tracks. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun
Is that
little journey.
Common practice?
It is. Yeah, I'm not particularly unique in that regard. That's kind of like the equivalent of somebody that owns a Jeep slapping on "It's a Jeep thing" sticker on their bumper. Yeah.
Okay, well, everybody make sure to follow Mike's YouTube here, TrackMouse34, and just track_mouse, I believe, on Instagram, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Very cool. All right. Well, that's what Mike has been up to. Now that, like you say, you got a little more downtime.
Yep.
I know that you've been, I haven't heard about it for a while, but I know you've been watching Dragon Ball Daima. Right?
Yes, I have. I think I might be an episode behind now. Man, for someone who I love Dragon Ball Z, right? I like Dragon Ball Super. And I was never a huge fan of Dragon Ball GT. There are elements to it that I really like, but this is very much, this feels like a Toriyama-fied version of Dragon Ball GT, right? Because that was something that was a project that he did not lead. I think he had some influence. That's why it's, in the past, it's been considered non-canon. I think there's been some changes to that now. But this is very much back to that. So, they're back to the chibi style, they're kids again, right? And they're going through that still thus far, very centered on Goku. And it's been okay. The animation is stellar, especially as far as Dragon Ball goes. Like this, you can tell there's a lot of time put into this one. It does not feel rushed like others have. So the animation is very good. The story, yet to be seen. There's some mystery. There's some sleuthing that we have to do a little bit. They're foreshadowing quite a bit in the episodes that I've seen thus far. I am excited to see the next episode. The last one that I watched ended on a bit of a cliffhanger. He's about to fight a guardian of one of the 3 Dragon Balls in the Demon Realm. And that is supposed to be something that nobody has accomplished in years. Nobody's been able to even come close to defeating one. So we're about to see how he does here.
Okay.
Yep.
I have something to add on that in a second, but I wanted to bring up the news article here that just is saying I'm going to have to wait till January 10th to start watching Dragon Ball Daima. So I thought it would be a lot sooner than that.
I did too.
I
did too. And I get why you'd want to wait, to hold off, right? Because the voices are iconic.
Yeah.
I wonder if come January 10th, you're going to be disappointed, because even if it's the same voice actor, right, for Goku, you'd think they'd change his voice a bit for being Kid Goku, right? I mean, I didn't sound like this when I was 8.
Well, yeah, wasn't it always the Gohan actress was okay. So it says here Goku voiced by who we would come to expect here.
Yep.
Yeah, Vegeta. Is there?
We'll see.
Is there a young Goku listed here? Vegeta, Goku Mini.
Yep.
Voice Stephanie Nadolny. Now that name looks familiar. So let's see.
All right.
Let's oh geez, do I ask? I've done that before. I don't think I'm gonna do that. Search web for her.
It's been fun. One of the things that they've done interestingly in this season, which is a bit of a departure, right? Dragon Ball has its formula where it is Goku is underpowered. Goku finds a way to match the level of the villain. Villain powers up. Goku now has to find a way to exceed the villain's power up, and then he absolutely decimates, right? Gets cocky. Villain gets stronger, surprises Goku, and you have your ultimate battle. And usually by then it's like Goku victorious by landslide, right? Tournament of Power was a little bit different there. Some of the arcs of Dragon Ball Super recently have meddled with that formula a little bit. But in this one, to get roundabout to my point, right now, he's just wicked, outpowering every encounter that he's come up with. Now, obviously, we haven't hit a pseudo climax. That's kind of what this Dragon Ball Guardian is supposed to be, I think, for the series. This is like his first real point of adversity. We'll see, though. But like everything else that he's come up against, it's, hey, I'm this wicked, awesome, super powerful thing, and that is my reputation. That's what the whole show is based off of, is my reputation of being the thing that took down Majin Buu. And they've just kind of maintained that. He has not struggled with anything thus far. It's all been kind of a joke.
Sure. Well, yeah. Okay, so not only. I'm sorry. She's the one. Like she's Gohan. So yeah, she and Goku Mini here in Ball Daima. So it's good to see. But yeah, I would say I agree with your idea of the formula, but I will say that watching a lot of Dragon Ball, it definitely is a lot of Goku just plowing through everything of ever, and sometimes it's like accidental or whatever, but he's just gets through everything with ease until a certain point. And even then it's like not that tough, but there's because the show is about this just like fun adventure thing. It really is, it just becomes something very different in Dragon Ball Z. And so if Daima is more in that vein of Dragon Ball, that's just like fun adventure.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons of both. I'm glad both exist. I thought that Super kind of hit that a balance between the two. But
yeah, he's a total goon in Super. He really is. right? I mean, even more so than really ever before. Yeah, but I think you'll like it. I think because you like Dragon Ball, right? You like
Yep.
the comedy aspect to it, so you're gonna appreciate this. And like I said, you get really pretty animation. So
Yeah. Well, we're still watching through DBZ. We're not, super far. We have Goku got to the end of Snake Way and is starting his training and with Kinkai. And I was thinking, because he mentions like no one had before has managed to learn his Kaioken and stuff.
right.
And I'm wondering, I'm thinking, who else has he trained? I would love to see a mini series that is King Kai training someone like, 500 years, 1400 years in the past, and like,
Sure.
or way in the future, whenever, like other people that have maybe preceded Goku, and I don't know, just be
It
interesting.
would be interesting.
Just someone that's
Well,
not a clown like Goku too, like how would
well,
it get on?
shortly thereafter, where you're at, you'll get Piccolo there, you'll get Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu.
That's
all end up
right.
there as well.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we get to see any of their journey along Snake Way? I feel like we don't. I don't remember that. Yeah.
We don't, which is a shame because like Goku barely made it out alive, right?
Yeah.
He hardly made it there. So yeah, it would have been interesting to see how they dealt with the Snake Sisters or Serpent Sisters or whatever they called her.
I just can't I can't help myself but to be like a lore fiend, and just I love the idea of, it's so cool that what's this afterlife situation? Goku falls off, and there's just some other place, and there's other spirits there, and there's a whole system, and like no one ever shows up there. Like, just who else has come along there? How long have you guys been here? Like all this sort of.
I feel like they make mention of what's his name? King, the gatekeeper, essentially, the giant man.
Oh yeah, he's Yama.
Yes, he had made it along Snake Way. And I think he had actually been trained as well by King Kai, because the Snake Girls, again, they mentioned that like he was the only one the only other one that had evaded their charm, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, nice. So that's some Dragon Ball talk for you. Now we'll get Andrea in here. Andrea, how's it going?
What up?
How are you guys?
Not
Doing
bad.
Great. The library behind you is looking really sharp.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we switched everything around in our house. The two girls are now sharing a room upstairs, so there's not like one on each level, which is lovely, because then there's like adult space to go to. So yes, so this is now my home office downstairs. You can see the library collection and a bit of the living room over there. So
very cool.
Yes,
my library collection is just a mess on the floor.
Like, yes.
And then more piling up, and yeah.
My library connection is non-existent. What are books? What is that?
That's not true.
What do they do?
3D printer?
Yeah. Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, print your own books. Okay, very nice. Andrea, has there been any other anime that you've been watching? I mentioned up top, been watching Dan Dan. We've all been watching Terminator Zero, or had watched it. Mike, how anything else?
No, nothing anime related. I've seen other things, but nothing.
Yeah, I've been forcing you to watch things for the other podcast. Been like,
how dare you? I mean, I also did go to like the movies for the first time in 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months last night. So it's not all forced things.
Yeah. Was that?
What did you say?
I know, not anime really. Was that Wicked?
Wicked.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. It was excellent. So
Okay.
good. So good. Yeah.
Nice.
Would highly recommend it. I mean, theater nerd to the core, so of course I loved
Sure.
it. But I will say it was definitely objectively better than I thought it was going to be. Like, it was much funnier, genuinely, than I thought it was going to be. So,
Very nice.
yeah.
My wife saw that, came home, and was just ecstatic with it. And she's seen
Yeah.
the Broadway play as well.
Same.
So she went into,
Yeah.
oh, you have. So you
Yeah,
must have gone in like being like, well, it can't be that good, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, so I saw the Broadway play like years ago as part of like a high school trip. So I saw like some early Elphaba and Glinda on Broadway. I think I saw like the third iteration. And like the Broadway play is solid. And there are moments that are, just woo, yeah, they make you feel it. They get you in it. But it's not the best Broadway show I've ever seen. So I was going into this with a lot of trepidation.
sure.
Especially about like the translation from stage to screen. But I think they did a really great job, like expanding little bits here and there to make the backstory make sense without completely changing things or writing in like big overarching storylines that you're like, what the hell is this? So I think they did a good job making it longer and make more sense why characters do what they do without totally throwing it off. There were a couple of draggy parts, but
Overall,
on
they
the
didn't really
whole.
mess with the formula.
Yeah. And they did get Winnie Holtzman wrote the original Broadway play, and they got her to write the adapted screenplay, and it shows.
Oh, nice.
Because she knows her people. So
Yeah. And how are Ariana Grande's acting chops in this?
So the best part about Ariana Grande is she doesn't like need terribly big acting chops for the role of Glinda.
That's,
Do you know what I mean?
I suppose, yeah, airheaded kind of.
Right? Like, but she did it with such conviction. It's really great. Like, you can really tell she is just having a blast. She is like, every moment is so fun. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's just like, yeah, like I'm in it. so like she does it just 110% and you can feel it.
Nice.
So yeah, there actually were some more serious moments, and I think she rose to the occasion because of her connection with Cynthia Erivo, who plays Elphaba. I think she just like matched it because they were so like connected and felt that they were really just these two good friends going on this journey. So I really think she rose and like matched in the moments that she desperately needed to,
Cool.
Very
So
nice.
yeah,
Well,
I was impressed. I thought it was going to be pretty, subpar, and she has a great voice, but wasn't going to be much to be entertained with overall. But I was wrong, I think.
well, it was a big weekend at the box office. Between what was it, Moana 2 and Wicked and Gladiator?
Yeah.
Yeah, big numbers. We got any movies in the theater? Dang it!
Yeah.
I thought I'd be going to the Chainsaw Man movie this year, but it doesn't seem like that's happening. So,
What do you feel about? I keep seeing ads for this now, or trailers, whatever. War of the Rohirrim. I'm excited about it.
I've seen a trailer, maybe two. I was excited when I first heard about it because of some of the people behind it. It's got what's her name? Philippa on board, and
yeah, Philippa Boyens,
and
I
Peter
think.
Jackson, and it's in that same universe. It's that same. It's supposed to be that same world. So I don't know. We'll see. It seems again like they're the thing with the Lord of the Rings trilogy is that it was praised as such an amazing adaptation. It's like even all the things that cut, even the things that were different, even though You know, Peter Jackson's not like a big magic guy, and some of that's toned back. You know, the elves aren't tra-la-laing all over. You know, like there's changes. It's a lot of people are like, for the massive work that it was, it really embodied the spirit of Tolkien's work, and it seemed like they really cared. They gave a damn. They, you know, wrote songs in Elvish. The actors learned it. Like it just the whole thing. It really seemed like a positive, amazing under that's hard to beat. So you respect that team, but then the money at the top that says, well, now we want to do the Hobbit and we're going to make it into 3 movies. Excuse me, what? And so then it's either, you know, Peter Jackson, hey, do you want to do this or not? Is that what Peter Jackson would want to do? Probably not. But it's like, well, someone else is going to ruin it, or I'm going to do my best shot. And so now we have an animated film, which I don't know where this was born out of. Is it a, you know, I don't know if it's a story that people are asking to be told, but it sounds like they're taking a lot of liberties with that story. So I don't know. It's just every time I don't think I'm on board automatically anymore because Peter Jackson's on board, I guess is what I'm saying. So we'll just have to see what becomes of it, because it's great. It's in the same universe, but I don't know. We'll see. Mike, have you seen much about this or?
No, I was going to go on a totally different tangent based on something you guys said. So I'll hold off. I'll wait, because Lord of the Rings should be right up my alley for all of my interests. And for some reason, I just never cared. I've seen it a bunch. I just never cared.
Oh, okay. I was like, you've never seen it? What?
No, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen the original trilogy. I've seen the Hobbit trilogy 2-3 times because my kid loves it. My wife loves them.
Sure.
And I just can't ever care. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It's weird.
Both Lord of the Rings and Hobbit.
Yeah.
Like, do you prefer one or the other at least?
I prefer the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's
mostly because of the way I like practical effects, and I appreciate when people go to the effort to do that in movie making and supplement it with CGI. Whereas The Hobbit was like, look what we can do with CGI, you know?
Yeah.
And it feels cheaper for it. That's why the original Jurassic Park still holds up. I mean, yes, ahead of their time, right?
Absolutely holds up.
It does. And it's why the new Jurassic Park really doesn't. The new Jurassic Park is not memorable for the storyline, but also the visuals, just not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, people get too excited with their tools. You know, we can make anything now. You know, you see that with Marvel. Like, there's no constraints. It's just like, hey, hand it over to the visual effects team. Blank screen, fill it in with shit. And
if you want to do that, make it animated. Make League of Legends Arcane. Make Into the Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah.
Right. Go for it, because
Castlevania.
Yep.
Right.
Terminator Zero.
See, but then that adds an art direction element where it's like, you know, the whole idea in the movies, you're trying to completely sell realism. And when you make something like Into the Spider-Verse, it's obviously incredibly stylized, or any of the things you just mentioned. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
Well, okay. So, Andrea, you're excited. I will wait and see.
I am excited. I just I caught the most recent, or not the most recent. I caught the first Fellowship of the Ring on TV the other day and was like, yeah, remember in December when we used to get excited about a new Lord of the Rings coming out? And then I saw the trailer. It was conveniently timed and placed, and I was like, yeah, War of the Rohirrim.
Yeah.
Captures like it's the spirit of a Lord of the Rings thing coming out. So I'm tentatively excited. I do hope, you know, Peter Jackson's been able to like break free and take notes from The Hobbit simultaneously and just like, you know, be like, you know, I made a misstep there. You know, I know what I did. Hopefully he can wrest some more creative control from whatever money people are backing this.
Sure. Okay, well, before we get into for people that want to know, I think that comes out Friday. I think it's Friday. A couple of days here.
Yeah.
So
This Friday
very
the 6th.
soon.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into Terminator Zero, one last thing, Mike. You said you were going to go on a separate tangent. What was that about?
Yes.
It was in the moment. It was actually going to be about Arcane. Oh, that's what it was. First of all, still think it's one of the greatest shows ever. I don't care. Across all mediums, phenomenal. Season 1, quite literally perfect. Season 2, nearly perfect, which is crazy to do. But that is one. The reason I was going to bring that up is you were talking about Peter Jackson and the team really loving the source material, right? And you know, wanted to bring that to life. Like, I think that's why Arcane worked so well. Not only do you have the creators of the game that were heavily involved, right? The owners of of Riot Games that were heavily involved, but the person, the director of it, is a massive fan of the game, and that just so clearly comes through that it becomes a passion project, right? You end up getting when the person is the fan of the content, you get the fan fiction or the fan service presented in a meaningful way. They're little snippets, right, of the moves from the game or little pieces of like the equipment from the game that aren't chucked into your face to be like, hey, you like this thing, right? Here's this thing, you like it, right? No, it's integrated seamlessly. That's really, really well done. The story is absolutely phenomenal. And one of the things that it doesn't really have, I think it's the perfect piece for adaptation, because there is a lore to Arcane, to League of Legends rather, but it's like a paragraph per character, right? Maybe 2 paragraphs. So you can be true to it, but expand on it and be totally original while still feeling like you've really stuck to the material. Yeah, it's a nice balance.
Nice.
So I watched that a bunch.
I have to get to that yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have been rewatching season 1 to like prepare for season 2, because I decided I wasn't gonna go the recap trailer route. Like I was just gonna watch it.
Good on you.
So
you'll appreciate it.
We Andrea got into Arcane early on, and then I didn't for a long time. So by the time that I watched it, you know, it was like past the time that we covered on the podcast. So
I feel like you were like passively resistant to it. It wasn't like active, like I don't want to watch it. Like sometimes we get in those modes where we're like, no, like I just, you know, you get obstinate and you're like, I'm not sure why, but I don't want to watch it. And sometimes you're just like, I'm going to get to it, but you sort of like let it go.
Yeah. There's just so many things that if you don't actually care, watch something like act or another.
Yeah.
There are really care to watch. And I just zero interest in League of Legends. After this, it's like, well, some interest now because of this show, but I just don't want to play League. So the world potentially,
which is not a requirement because I've never played.
Right.
No,
and that's the beautiful thing about this is like it's one of those things where it's like you don't have to.
It is an inherently good show
without,
right. If it wasn't even called League of Legends, it would still be an amazing show.
Right.
Rachel watched the first season with me, totally hooked. Absolutely loved it. Couldn't be farther from a League of Legends fan.
So the plan is hopefully here to we'll finish up doing Prophecy, and then I plan to start watching that after doing so.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying, Mike, is maybe we'll have you back on to talk about in sometime on the regular show.
All right.
So, okay. Terminator Zero. Let's get into this. There will be spoilers. I took like a lot of notes for this.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Before I get into any of it, let's just see where you guys are at in terms of your Terminator familiarity and what you've watched or if you liked it before, like that. So, Andrea, what have you seen of Terminator previously?
Sure. I think I've seen almost all of the Terminator movies. I did not see the one with Emilia Clarke.
Okay.
And oh, sorry.
Dead air.
Yeah, John, did you freeze?
So, you guys, it said, "Oops, connection lost, reconnecting." Can you hear me now at all?
Yeah, and I can hear you now. Oh,
Hey,
you
you're
just
not
like
fuzzy
shuffled
anymore.
spots.
Yeah, you were fuzzy. Now you're not fuzzy.
I don't know.
Mike, you're on the top of my screen. You're the host now.
All right. First thing we're doing is getting rid of John. All right, I'm tired of this bullshit.
Voting him out of here.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm putting you in the box.
Oh,
His ego couldn't
John.
handle it.
No. John's up there thinking he's in God's image.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. So I've seen all the Terminator movies excepting the one with Emilia Clarke. It was like Terminator Dark something. I can't remember even the title of it. But I had like zero interest in watching it. And I watched some of the Sarah Connor Chronicles back when that was a TV show with Lena Headey.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a long time though, so don't quiz me much on that. But yeah, I think that's about my Terminator history.
Okay. How about you, Mike? I mean, you seem like you jumped on this pretty quick. Are you a Terminator fan?
No, I'm a filthy casual. I've seen.
I'm gonna use that term. I like that.
I've seen the originals, and I think I saw the first one where they came back and Arnold Schwarzenegger was like 100 years old and they de-aged him, and I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing with this?
Yeah,
and it was they so did not need to be made. Like, that's all I can remember saying is as I was watching it, like, what is the point of this? It's also circular. It just doesn't matter. So no, not a huge Terminator guy. Jumped into this, because I think somebody had said it sounded cool or something like that. And suddenly I was binge watching the hell out of it. And I think I finished it in a day and a half or something.
Okay. Yeah, it does go quick.
It does. It might have been one night. It might have been like a 2 a.m.er kind of thing.
I feel like there was a text that you sent that was like, yeah, I'm like up binging this. I'm pretty sure I remember that now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm all or nothing, man.
No, it's easy to binge. I think I did like 4 and 4. Like I was just like watching, and then suddenly I was like, oh my God, I'm halfway through. Like, what happened?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that because it had been a while since you were watching some other anime, so it's cool you got on board with one. I just heard that, hey, best thing in the Terminator universe in a long time. So thought that was interesting.
I'm glad you finished that. I wouldn't call this the best thing in the Terminator universe, but I would put it up in the top 3.
Yeah, it was just like people. I think people have considered Terminator brand kind of a dead brand.
Yeah, lately for sure.
Hey, this is a shot in the arm here to this IP that no one's really cared about in a while. It's kind of been a lot of misses. And because you say it's circular, Mike, it doesn't go anywhere really, and it's retreading on the same kind of things or whatever. So, but I've always been very interested in what the Terminator is. My interest quelched better in X-Men, all the Cable and Apocalypse, the future, and it's destroyed and trying to come back, change it, and like all that sort of thing. To me, that was better done and more interesting than Terminator, but
Sure.
you know,
This one just, I don't know. This movie felt like it was a cool movie, and then also there's Terminators in it. That's
okay.
we're talking about an 8 series, or 8 episode series. I realize that, but like the Terminator thing was present, but it wasn't the main focus, and that's why I think I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. What struck me about this show, and I kept thinking it throughout the show, and then at the end, I still thought it, was that this show seemed like it was derived around, like, concocted around this idea of a philosophical sort of premise that I want to share, and what story can we build around that to say it? Which I thought was an interesting way. It's like, not like, hey, we want to tell a Terminator story, and we have to have our hero that does this, and they save whatever, and it's not plot focused at all. It's really, the plot had to form around having to tell this vision of what it means to be human, I guess, and like where we stand in the future machine versus human battle. And then how can we get to these points? How can we make these things happen? Does that strike you as something that makes sense to anyone? Or
Yeah, I think this show was definitely more like ideological, exploring theory, different, I don't know, different thought processes, like different beliefs. Obviously, what it means to be human, what it means to be machine. Where does, our line blur? And a lot of people are on, various spectrum points of that in the show. So it was nice to like get a lot of different character viewpoint. And I think that this show, I think I like that about this show versus like the OG Terminator. Is the plot is so simplistic. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so simple a story that it's just so very different and cool that way. Whereas this is like, it's not really about like like Mike said, it's not really about the Terminator. He's just like part of this like philosophical discussion that we are having, and he is a key player who is pushing pieces around the board. But it's not like the Terminator story. It's just this universe.
Yeah. And whenever you're playing with time travel, right? It's very easy to go down a hole with that, where it makes everything in the story feel inconsequential up to said point, right? Because whatever way you try to end up explaining it, one of those ways is just like, well, but nothing that you do actually matters because it is predetermined, right? And you can't change the past, and no matter what you do in the past that you change creates a new future. And so you're not really fixing anything for the new future. And it's like, you just run that risk of getting at the end of it, and you come to the time travel revelation. You're like, so then why did we do that? Why did we talk about it? And I think this show, it gets through that in a more eloquent way. This was a show that made me wonder if I was smart enough to even think about the show, like in a meaningful way, right? Do I really have the cognitive ability to break this down, understand it, and have real thoughts about it? Or is it making me feel like I do, right? I don't know. It was cool.
It's interesting you say that, how things are, like, what's the point kind of thing, because they specifically address that. Like, it's on the nose, as if it's been a critique before. They talk about the moment of the time travel explanation is a nice scene. So it sets it up for everybody, like, so there's not any confusion on that. And then one of our protagonists here asks that question. It's like, well, what's the point then? It's like, well, that's, if you need to be able to figure that out. Like, if you can't answer that yourself, then it is right. What are you doing this for? And it's sort of the whole, like, discovering your humanity and the worth of humanity and that sort of thing. That is it's the same thing that's addressed, I think, in a zombie apocalypse show. It's initially it's all about survival. You just have to survive. People steal from their neighbors. They, like they're not trusting of anyone else. It's like kill or be killed. But at some point, someone's going to be like, yeah, but I have kids, and I want my kids to have kids. I want someone to have a future, and that future relies and like there's, if I want to have this be more than just I survive, start trusting, and we have to start building. You're not saving your friends, you're not saving your family and those that you've now left behind, but you are saving. You're working for a larger goal here. You're saving humanity, even if it's not all of them. It's just some of them. It's you're trying to secure a future for some people because human has the innate value, and
that's what I like about this show. Is it presents both sides of it, right? Is that even worthwhile cause then to save all of humanity? Is humanity worth preserving? Right? What is the purpose? What's the point of it? Or is it just an obstacle? And you have both sides of it there, and so you're forced as a viewer, if you want to go down that amount of depth, you ask yourself, what is that value of human life in general?
Yeah,
I dig it. Because it could have been easy to gloss over and be like, oh, well, okay, I'm saving all of humanity. Why? Well, because.
Yeah, because I'm the hero of the story.
Right.
Because it's the thing you do.
Right.
Yeah,
this goes deeper.
Well, it's all the things that you said, Andrea, about like, what's it mean to be human, all the sort of thing. But a lot of shows deal with those things, or movies or whatever. Battlestar Galactica does very well in dealing with what it means to be human versus machine and all that sort of thing. But this really does narrow in on the value of humanity and humans, like that aspect of it. And I do think they did a pretty good job, like you say, of offering both sides of the thing. It definitely made me like argue it out in my own notes, a little bit. So I appreciated that. And again, I don't know if I should knock this show for it, because there are things I found myself a lot of times not really caring about the plot. I cared about the philosophical discussion. I cared about like how this was going to, I guess that's part of the plot, how this was going to go, but really what, Kokodo was going to think, how she was going to come to what conclusions she'd come to, like where the kids were running to. I don't really care. Like what, all this sort of thing. That's just like, again, the pieces moving to get us to a destination. But so I found myself like just the beat to beat action things, not really caring about it that much, just wanting the philosophy.
I was the same.
That's a very John take on it.
But it is nice stuff like that the animation and the action scenes are cool, because it is then it's offered as a reprieve. Then you can just be like, oh, cool robot, do thing, break lady arm.
Right.
Like,
Right. Well, and it's still like grounding it in the Terminator universe. I mean, you can't, because otherwise you could just like make a philosophical discussion. You know what I mean? Like, and what would be the point of calling it Terminator Zero? So like, you do have to have like the moments of, Terminator action, I think. And they don't, play it too heavy so that you are, too unbalanced in either side, where it's like too much Terminator action versus, too much philosophical discussion. But I also think like the Terminator parts serve, to move other relationships along, because Malcolm, our main character here is so isolated from everybody that everybody else needs to like come together and have like the human connection, because otherwise Malcolm is just like a guy who abandons his kids to save them, arguably, but also like, is that better for them that, you know, your father was basically away from you for potentially what could be your last moments and his. So, you know, we have to have other people like working together, forming bonds, you know, forming new decisions about like what it means to be human versus machine versus, you know, I care about you even though you're, you know, a machine. But, you know, there's a lot of different like viewpoint exploration that can be done through these action sequences.
Yes, I agree completely. And it's nice to have, you know, the doctor, professor, time traveler guy, right? Being the one who is like, this is not for me. It's not for immediate family. This is humanity as a whole. The kids, the family is very much we are fighting for now. We are fighting for us. And right, that split is nice, right? So you don't just have man versus machine. You have the different values of man and the machine trying to, I think that's where the machine comes up short in complexity. Right. It's got a singular focused vision, you know, even though it does in this show, oh gosh, it's been too long. What was the AI's name that he created
Kokoro.
to Misaki?
Kokoro. Thank you.
Or Kokoro?
Kokoro.
Because he created both of them. So I'm just.
Right. No, I'm thinking of Kokoro.
Misaki, motherly figure.
Yep.
And then Kokoro.
Yeah, but she was his like OG AI creation.
Yeah.
I just threw a bunch of.
No, that's good. That's good. I'm thinking Kokoro.
OG AI. Parse through my abbreviations here.
You must work in corporate.
U of M, same thing.
Yeah, all right.
We love our acronyms.
Yeah. The Kokoro does go through a little bit of a, you know, thought process as to, you know, where the value really lies and what to do. And like, that's the whole premise here. But it's still, to me, looking at it at a more singular like level. Like the answer is just black and white. It is yes or no. No matter how convoluted your journey to that answer, it's still yes or no. Whereas the human side is more nuanced, right? It is the greater good of humanity, or is the value of humanity is it the intimacy and the moments and the experiences that we have as a social being, a social creature, right? Is that the thing, the here and now versus the grandiose picture of saving what humanity is? But he gives up the thing that is supposed to give value to human life, right? He's giving that up to save all of it. It's interesting.
Yeah, I agree definitely with your point. I hadn't quite thought about like the way that you're addressing like the machine simplicity and like narrowed viewpoint. I agree with definitely the premise. Where I had kind of thought of it was, you know, a lot of this series argues whether or not humanity should be saved and what's the value in saving humanity. But where I was kind of coming from it is, you know, okay, so the machines keep arguing that, you know, humankind is a plague upon the earth and must be destroyed. They are self-destructive. They're warmongers. Like, they destroy each other. You know, what's the value here? What's the value add that humans have? But they like don't often turn it around and say, okay, so machines, if you kill all of humankind and you become the dominant species, what's your value add? You know, they kind of fail to address their own, like, you know, potential future. They're just so focused on like, okay, humanity threat must take care of. And then it's like, well, if you're proposing to essentially replace humanity, what's your value add? Like, what's, you know, because essentially what you're doing, what Skynet is doing particularly, and we don't get a lot of like Skynet's point of view.
Right.
But what Skynet is doing is scorched earth. You're actually going to ruin the planet. And we see that in the snippets of, you know, the future. So how are you better? Like, why should, you come online, and why should you be allowed to survive?
I think that I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it's kind of a perfect representation of what we think AI would become, and then even the solution is still, it's still like coded, right? It's still binary, right? Like, even though AI is supposed to be able to move beyond binary, you use quantum computing, you're using, right, to come to these conclusions, right? When you get to that point where you have moved beyond binary, and yet your solution or your goal is still binary. Because maybe it's not capable of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that though.
Yeah, I also liked that we did have some moment of like human binary thinking with Kenta. Like, he has this decision to make, like, destroy Kokoro or no. Like, that's his choices. Like, there's no middle, So sometimes it's like humans get that too. But it's more often the machines, who, like in this show, who have very focused, like, laser humanity, yes, no.
I mean, they give us we have to rely on them to give us the projection of AI's end calculation, and we can set a bad one, so we're able to play with the discussion we have. It'd be a lot less interesting if we have, oh, the machines are kind of going to do this part, and they're going to, we're going to have this sort of treaty here, and it's easier to go with the total fear mongering route, and then it has to make us question more. I think, I don't know. I get what you're saying, Mike. Quantum computing we should have multiple choices here. But I guess if you're looking so far in the future, running so many calculations, what if it does come down to like a yes or no? What if there is no perfect, aligned solution, because humans are imperfect creatures, and you can't just make them operate as machine.
But that's the underlying argument, right? Between the complexity of human thought. When you think about the existential risk of AI becoming completely sentient and not needing humanity at all, when you try and break down, like, what is it that we do that a computer cannot do, and what are we trying to chase with real, true AI? And creativity, right? It is the imagination, ultimately. You can say it's emotion to some degree. That could be something else that we're chasing. But the emotion piece, that's hormonal, effectively, right? You can break that down to a science. But imagination and creativity, generating something that has never existed.
Yeah.
Exactly. Can AI ever be capable of that? And then you bring that back to Andrea's point of, well, okay, you solve the problem, you eliminate humans, then what? What is your purpose now? The thing is, the purpose was always programmed in. So the question becomes, can AI ever get to that point? Is Kokoro such an amazing creation that it can have imagination and think of what happens next when my mission has been completed one way or the other? And I think that's the thing that we're suggesting just can't be done.
Yeah, or at least this show doesn't quite get to.
Right.
Because that's a tough next step to do.
If a machine becomes sentient, like, some things address, like, if a machine reaches sentience, it's then emulated itself off of humans. Because if it's trying to be creative, like, it's going to have emotion, and if it has emotion, it's imperfect, and if it's a human, what difference will you be, if any? at this point they're living and more capable.
There's a line in another show that some have seen and some have not yet. Neither of you have, I don't think. But the point becomes that when you reach perfection, there's nothing left. There is no. You get to a point where there's no reason to be when you are at perfection, right? And that's
why,
a deep piece that this has to deal with.
That's the whole conundrum always for me with, say, heaven, like if you reach nirvana, if you reach perfection, if you reach ultimate glory and everlasting peace, and then what? It's nothing. You're in a sedated coma as your mind just has endless dreams of, it's just meaningless.
Oh my God, you're in the Matrix.
You're in the Matrix.
And
back. There's a line from Troy, the movie Troy, which I think is underrated. That like Brad Pitt's character, is saying, like, Achilles is like, the gods envy you. The gods envy humanity because their time is finite. It makes everything beautiful, and that's why the gods in like Greek myth and stuff, they're going to go nuts. They're just going to have sex with different people and war all the time and cause all kinds of destruction because they could be the perfect beings. But they're not, because it's all meaningless. What are we going to do? We got to seek meaning. So we got to cause chaos to seek meaning. Like whatever. Like
perfection is boring.
It's just,
there's nothing to pursue, and without pursuit, you have no challenge, and without challenge, it's boring.
No
it's
purpose.
Why no purpose. Hey, you got a comment in here from Carlos Garcia. It says if it has emotion, it will end you for the better. That's interesting.
Okay, says kind of. I mean, what can be better? But what can be is one.
I think the idea is just experiencing,
going anywhere.
Yeah, it would be better to experience everything. I don't know, maybe, but I don't know. Yeah, this show does a really good thing. And like Andrew, John, and I had. The reason I think I sent that text message at like 2 a.m. after I had watched this is because like the day before, John and I were having the conversation of like what has more value, nature or the cosmos, right, in general, to expand it bigger, or like humanity and our perception of things. Like, is the universe beautiful because the universe is inherently beautiful, or is the universe only beautiful when there is somebody to observe it as beautiful? Like, is there inherent beautifulness?
Yeah, Mike and I differ on this. I feel like I used to like come down on where you did, but
the show tackles it a bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I would probably come down on the side of there is inherent beauty in the universe, but it's, I mean, that's such a tough question, but obviously you can't talk about a concept like beauty without, having a sentient being to like define and, have the experience of it. But I mean, does beauty exist only if we talk about it? I don't know.
It's interesting, right?
See, it's hard to me. I get the thing that's hard to grasp, like outside of us. You think, of course, something has inherent beauty, but to what? To whom? Like it still is to that. Like, right, without something to define it as beautiful, is it beautiful? Like, it's always.
I mean, do we have to go only with humans and the concept of beauty?
I think
does
sentience.
Well, okay, but then does that then limit the value that humanity has? If any sentience is enough for beauty to be, for beauty to exist, then do you really need human beings to exist in order to provide that value or experience that value?
I mean, that's one concept that humans can speak to. I think we're not the only ones who can do it, but I think that, like this show argues, humans can do other things of value. Again, that at least in this show, they don't show that machines can do. So that maybe for like the concept of beauty, no, like humans aren't essential to appreciate, define, discuss. But I think like this show takes us to the brink, but doesn't cross over the abstract thought for machines. In ways that, again, like my focal point was, we never asked Kokoro what's her vision of the future and why machines should replace humanity, other than like, like in her view, humans are bad. So there's that like next level of other thought.
Do you think if you would have asked her that question, that it would have changed her outcome or her final decision, I guess?
I wanted him to ask her that question. I don't know. Because it felt like she was always the one asking questions of him, so she never like stopped to think about herself. So it would have been really interesting. So maybe it would have, because it would have challenged her to say like, you've been setting the rules of engagement here. You're asking me to like defend myself. How do you defend yourself?
Yeah, because you ask about the value add, like what's the value add of humans? Well, then what's the value add of machines? Again, that's my thing, is to what? Value add to what? Value add to the universe. Okay, why does that matter? Well, because it does. Well, no, because someone, and so I'm still on that side of like, so we say, maybe I shouldn't say sentience. Maybe I should say a self-aware sentient being, because you can have, brain function and some sort of awareness, but like awareness of self, that you are born and that you will die and that you have autonomy over yourself, to me seems maybe like a crucial element. Like, how much does a deer value the beauty of a flower? Can it value the beauty of a flower?
Well, now you're going into free will being a key core element of that. I wonder if that becomes, I guess I should say, you run the risk of free will becoming a core element of that. And there's good arguments that free will doesn't actually exist. Not necessarily perfect determinism, but that, your actions are nothing but synapses and, a cause and effect, down the line between your hormones and the synapses that are happening in reaction to what you're seeing. So then if you don't actually have free will, then now, if you were to make that argument, now really what's the value of, a self-aware sentient being recognizing beauty if you don't do anything about it?
That last bit, you kind of broke up again. You broke up a little bit for me. I don't know if...
Oh, I heard it, but go again.
Okay.
I'm chuckling at Carlos talking about the deer going to eat the flower. He's going to eat it.
It's true. That's right. Okay, so right. So
sorry. Get back into determinism, Mike.
I'm not
just
smart
turn it
enough
on.
to
Go.
handle it. Not smart. I can repeat what I've heard. Effectively, is free will necessary for beauty to have the? Is free will necessary for humans' recognition of beauty to be of any sort of value? Like, if we have no free will, if everything is determined and we're simply reacting to it, right? Then then us recognizing beauty, what is the point? What's the purpose of doing that if it doesn't change anything, if you don't have control over it, right? Then being a self-aware sentient being doesn't have any more value necessarily than being a plant, some sort of sentience in a different way, or an octopus or something along those lines. And I'm not even saying I'm a determinist. It's just
right. Yeah.
No, I know you are. You wouldn't eat the tentacle.
So okay.
I looked this up because I was curious, because I was wondering about like animals who can think abstractly, because I was thinking about dolphins. And so dolphins, dogs, chimpanzees, and ravens can all have abstract thoughts, according to science.
Okay, interesting.
All magpies? I mean, or all corvidae? I'm guessing magpie, crow, ravens. Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
I would think so. Yeah.
I'm surprised octopus.
And then they get into like other breeds of monkeys and things like that. But like, I was like, I'm just going to stick to like 4 kind of main different animals. So.
Octopus are interesting because they are, they challenge the belief that like this level of intelligence was generated out of a social, a need for social hierarchy and that sort of thing. That like, because they're solitary creatures, right? And yet they also show signs of like playing, the ability to play, the ability to solve problems, like all of this. I don't know if they do abstract thought or not, but they do definitely think on a similar level than the rest of the animals that we listed off there.
Yeah. Free will is an interesting conversation because, like, I had someone explain it like, okay, someone says you don't have free will because you don't have complete free will, because you have essentially programming in your DNA, however you were raised. On top of that, like, you don't have a choice because you're just a product of your pre-programming. But it's like, his idea was your arm can move in a lot of directions, but because it's attached to your elbow, it can't go all the way 360. Does it not have freedom of motion? Do your fingers not have freedom of motion? Yes, there are rules. Yes, there are structures in place that you can't break and go without, but it doesn't mean you're not able to play within that field, within within the certain rules you're given. And that
is the question. But that argument doesn't really solve it. It just presents it in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the thing that you're trying to describe is something that you can't really prove. It's much easier to get closer to a proof of a lack of free will than it is to prove free will in and of itself. It's very difficult to show a thought generated out of nothing, of no influence, right? It's really hard to prove that. I personally choose to believe in free will, because God, it'd be hard to get through life if you don't think that any of it matters. And then if you do try and say that consequences matter despite not having free will, like, that's a real hard argument to make too. But I guess to bring it back to the show is like, that is something that I think the AI would fall onto. There is no free will. You don't have that. That doesn't exist because it is not logical, right? And then you'd question, is the AI capable of illogical thought?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it would be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but
And it wouldn't be capable of illogical thought because it's not capable of generating creative ideas it doesn't have imagination. So without imagination, how can you go on anything other than logic?
Right. because it can be wrong, it can be misinformed, it can make
Right.
conclusions, but it's using the logic of the information that it has to make those conclusions.
Right.
Logic and statistics, effectively, right? It is probability, right? When you get to general AI, when you get through quantum computing, the whole idea is that you are going into decisions made based off of probability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a line here that I just I wrote down, paraphrased it because it went fast. See if you had any thoughts on it. That was interesting.
Okay.
Mankind believe they are nearest to God in both their image and power.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ring true at all? Do we fall apart if we think that, we're, I don't know, however you want to interpret it, like literally the image of God or the center of the universe, or nothing else reigns above us? Like, are we shattered if, or take it to, can we cope with like an AI, a machine race that is superior to us? We know it. Nothing we can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Can we live with that, or would it be, even if they are peaceful? Look, we don't want trouble. They see the value in, maybe this version sees value in human life, and we can kind of be separate, or we can commingle, whatever, But will people accept that?
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that, especially wholesale, because it's not just like a handful of humans would have to accept that. It would be like all humans.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so great at othering. There is us and them. So I think that's one of humanity's defaults. Not that we can't overcome it. I don't want to just like blanket, say we have binary thoughts too, but we do. I think when we have strong emotions, or we are faced with like unknown things, I think we tend to fall on binary choices as a default, and it takes an effort of will to overcome that. So I think humanity would be shook. I think there would be a real hard time knowing for certain that we are not potentially like the best beings or a superior being.
I'm trying to think of one instance where we are okay as a species not controlling something. What is one thing that we are okay with not being greatest at effectively terraforming, right? Like adapting. We are the greatest at adapting our surroundings to fit our needs, as opposed to adapting to fit the needs, or to fit the surroundings.
Right.
From growing crops, right, to trying to control the literal weather and the atmosphere itself, right? We believe we can fix the ozone, right? We believe we are the cause of the deterioration of the ozone. Everything comes back to we are in control. And so I can't think of a single thing where humanity has just like been like, you know what? Can't touch it. Don't have control over it. And I don't think AI would, or machines would be any different. We would want to control it. Maybe not on an individual level as a person. I think a person can put their ego aside and say, I'm not in control of this situation, and that's okay. But not as a whole.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, as a whole, I don't think humanity could do it.
Yeah, it'd be something like, I think relating it to the planet or to the environment is probably the best, like you say, best option we have for something to look at as an example. But then you've got something that can talk back to you and fight back and all that kind of thing. Makes it a little different. you think that, you know, like we're going to have to get to a point where it is, we either become machines ourselves effectively, you know, or we get rid of it. I think it's going to be that binary choice. And it's going to be one of those two things, because otherwise we will be the inferior species on the planet. We will have created, we'll have taken the position of God and created a new life form, but it will surpass us, and we will find ourselves less and less relevant. And creativity will be, it will seem creative, even if it doesn't actually have creativity. It's like right now, like, you know, AI writing music or doing art or something like that. Like that can absolutely convey the, like, a creative mind was behind it, even though it wasn't. And so it's either going to be, we put the chips in our head, we augment our body when we can, we, you know, like, so we can kind of keep up and interface. How will that actually affect our brains? How will that actually affect our feeling of self and purpose? And, you know, humans are already, like, we're in the best of times ever, yet people continue to, like, do worse off with their mental health, like more suicides from kids and some of that. Like it's why, you know, so we're going to have either we become the machines or we have to get rid of it all, like Dune. So I think it's going to be, I guess that's where we're going to get.
We need challenge. We strive
need
off
purpose.
Right. We are designed for it. If you get to the point where you're not challenged by anything, then you have to come up with a new purpose. I'm not sure what that would be. It would be controlling something else, probably. Oh, well, you know, everything in my life is perfect. I'm going to go make all of these other things now perfect too, right? That's playing God. That's control.
Yep.
It was a good show.
Okay, well, yeah, I think it was a good show. Like, again, some of the plots of some of the, you know, it's like, oh, just punching a perfectly, you know, made of metal thing that just broke your arm. There's some things like that or whatever that, you know, bother me. But ultimately, I don't think that was the point, and so I'm okay to look past that. And then in the last sort of act, we got a lot of surprises in terms of like, hey, actually, you're my mom. And, you know, like, just how that, there was a lot of reveals there, and it kind of, it said it, I haven't really thought through that stuff enough. But it was interesting, you know, even the Terminator telling the brat kid, like, hey, I've been told to trust that you'll make the right call, because in like 25 years, you're in charge of a peace broker that's like never been done before. Like, what a shocking thing is that? What a choice you have there to make. So there was a lot there that came to be at the end. That was very interesting.
Yeah, even I think secondary twists, like, I was never going to be shocked that Misaki was a cyborg, you know, or robot, or, you know, whatever you want to classify her. But that she time traveled back with Malcolm, that he built her in the future, and then she came back and was like, you know, the mother of Kokoro, like, that was a surprise. So I thought that this show did a lot of surprises in well done ways. Like, you know, the things that came out of left field, and then like the secondary, like, okay, a reveal. Oh, that wasn't actually the reveal. Great. This is a better reveal.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I wrote down another thing, paraphrasing Kokoro. Humans divine narrative out of the chaos of life, seek meaning. I just like that. You know, it's obviously a core thing, that something that's either it's fate, or you see conspiracy in chance, or you know, whatever, like all kinds of things. You pick out patterns. You're trying to find meaning behind everything. That was good. Let's see, the future, like trying to control the the future is trying to control the past, like making it was good. Let's see. That was interesting.
I liked that moment in the show because they were talking about like the endless cycle of Terminators and humans like sending people back. And it was like, oh my God, it's gotten so boring because like people just keep popping up and like new leaders and then they have to send back new Terminators. It was like a fun nod to like the original premise being like, you know, meaningful, but then they like did it so much that they're like, okay, so we can't do this anymore. What, you know, and it was like a great way to be like, we have to do something new now. Like we overdid it. So
yeah,
like
self-awareness.
Right? It was a good like burn on itself on the like Terminator IP and like what they, you know, the essential OG storyline is, but then also like why this new twist of like, okay, so like Skynet exists, what if we built like a counter AI to it? It gives it like a better purpose, you know, other than one guy just kind of like randomly thought this might work.
I like the little scene of like, so Malcolm's making Misaki and she's picking her. She chooses a gender and it's like, why, you know, why do you even go with, why do you even choose that, you know, like,
right.
And why did you choose to be a woman instead of that? I thought that was a really interesting, well thought out little conversation they had there. Good.
Agreed. I think those little things are like what makes the show so excellent. Like the ending is good. The philosophical thing towards the end of it, right? That's all good, but it's the little stuff like that that's stapled throughout the middle of it that makes you think as well and kind of addresses some of those things. That is a lot of fun. It's
I didn't love some of the CGI of like Malcolm when they're pull out from a distance. Why is he a CG character versus drawn? I just thought that it bothered me. I thought what an elaborate to create for Kokodo for these three things, you know, and like, was there always piano there? When did that piano get there? There's little stuff like that, but yeah.
Do you think the piano was supposed to mean anything? Like, you know, we were talking about creativity, right? And you'd mentioned how AI generate music, and music is one of the arts, right? And art is generally creative. So is that supposed to mean that she finds joy in that, or that she utilizes it thus, right? Is that supposed to tell us that she's an elevated version?
But it is funny that she is using that as a song. What, you haven't heard this song? You don't know this one? It's quite popular. It's interesting that she's introducing it, that element, and not him.
Yeah. I do think it's like a tendency to, you know, when we think about humanity's meaning, we turn to the creative pursuits, the arts, you know, music, poetry. You know, she references like, this is a song that's based on the poems of, and he speaks of, you know, the joy of dancing, and that meaning for the soul. So like, I mean, I don't want to be too reductive, but it's often not like when machines or AI or, you know, some other type of, you know, machine being asks about the value of humanity. It's often not like, let me like hold up this math problem, or, you know,
sure,
let me like talk about the science or the physics. Or, you know, it's often that, you know, there's a fascination and curiosity and a lifting up of, you know, the arts. And they, you know, kind of debate over a piece of philosophy, a piece of poetry, you know, something like a song resonates. And it's usually something like that that's kind of, you know, makes the machine being pause.
I wonder if that's because there's like a stigma of that math and sciences are discovered, right? That there isn't, we're not generating those things, right? And I wonder if that's actually true. I think some mathematicians would suggest otherwise. Some mathematicians might suggest that we are discovering and or creating something
Sure.
with math, but
Sure.
by default,
Like math and science already exist, and we are we are there to like quantify and discover, rather than like we produce art. You know, it's within us, it's innate, and we, you know, it's up to us to like share it.
Right.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I didn't
So
put that. I think
true.
the best, but yeah, I get the concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's always something that's interesting to me.
I would say the goal definitely is to understand something.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't always get that right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it is ultimately interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, I have a lot of notes here. I've tried to scroll through some of them, pick out a few. You know, I thought the music was really good. They had a nice vibe with this show. You know, they had emotional beats when it was necessary. They had good voice cast. You know, overall, a lot of good to this show. It came out of nowhere. I was surprised. Made me think. Are we missing?
Did you guys watch it in Japanese or English?
English. Yeah.
Okay.
What did you do?
I did half and half.
Ooh, what'd you think?
Yeah, because I started off in Japanese, and then I noticed I noticed some of John's notes, and then also I thought about like the fact that you do tend now to watch more shows in English. So I was like, I'll switch. I'll see like what I feel about. And I did enjoy, I think like 90% of the voice casting in English. It was Aiko that she sounded so different between Japanese and English. Like Japanese, she was much older sounding, and then in English, she sounded like 17. So it was a real hard disconnect.
Yeah.
To you know, go from that. Like her voice made her sound older, so I started thinking of her as older, and then I was like, the English voice is probably more fitting for her actual age, but it seems so young now. She seems like, you know, just like little twee fighting off, you know, a Terminator. Is just very weird. So
that feels very Japanese, actually.
It does.
Anime.
But it was a hard switch to go from her as like, you know, an adult. And like, you know, because I was thinking about like, well, yeah, of course she's like leading these kids and like trying to take care of them. And then, you know, suddenly I switched over and I was like, oh my God, she's a kid herself. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually thinking about it, I just hit play, but I wasn't thinking about it. It would have been interesting to watch it in Japanese because I might have absorbed some of it better reading it.
Sure.
I see.
Sure.
That can help. So
I definitely stay more focused when I'm watching something in Japanese. I've done that with MF Ghost. Is something that they have a dub and a sub to it, and the story's not very good, right? Unfortunately, which is a bummer for it. But be good. I like watching it in English a lot more because I don't have to pay attention to it, frankly. Because when I do pay attention to it, I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I can come back and I can just look at it and be like, ooh, cool car doing thing. Okay, now I'm going to go pay attention to something else while they're talking about nothing. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, sometimes that's like a blessing, and sometimes it's like, oh man, I feel like I missed some stuff, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, this is like, again, with this show visually, like it was, you know, lots of cool stuff, but really what I cared about was the thought processes that were on display moments. So it would have been perfectly fine for me. One of the coolest action sequences was right at the beginning, like the opening. It's like, this is implausible.
Oh yeah.
Really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, it was the show like changes wildly from the beginning action sequence to like the final action sequence. Like the beginning action sequence felt very like Castlevania, you know, improbable, implausible, but like cool. And I can accept it because it's the world of animation. And then like final big fight that I can think of is like the Terminator versus the Enos. And that was wildly different stylistically. And it was cool in its own way too. but just thinking about the two, it was almost like different shows.
Yep. Well, one final thing, unless you guys have anything else to add, what would you choose if you're the brat kid and it's like throw the MP or abort? What do you do?
I really thought the brat kid was going to do it.
Yeah, I was definitely what I would do. I was like, oh, damn, what would I do? It's a tough one.
Am I the brat kid or am I me?
Yeah.
You're you, but you have the same story told to you by the Terminator.
That the me from the future said I would know what to do in making this choice.
Broker peace, because you can broker peace that has not been done before, and that's not going to happen with this Kokodo AI around.
Yeah, but I mean, if you use game theory, then that's just exactly what the AI would want to tell you so that it continues to survive. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So they're appealing to my ego as a teenager, and since I'm a teenager, I'm buying into that shit full send. Yeah. I'm going, I'm the hero? Go on living, buddy.
Yeah.
Kokoro, keep going.
Yeah.
But real me is like, nah, bomb that shit.
Yeah, I mean, do we get like Kokoro versus Terminator arguments?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, which would
podcast.
That would be impossible to do. That's the thing. Have you guys seen the movie Her?
Yes.
No.
Oh God.
All right, Mike, you're up. I'm out.
No. This is John's thing. I've seen it. I haven't prepared anything intelligent from it.
It puts in perspective. I want to say something, but I won't. I want to ruin it for you. I'll just say that it puts in perspective really well the dynamic between humans and machines. Like what it will be if we don't become also machine. It does that so because we're sitting here as humans trying to debate the machine side of things and ours, and we're not going to think like it does. We're not going to calculate the things like it does. And so it really is. It's just not where we can relate. And the best demonstration of that is in the movie Her.
Okay.
Highly recommend. It's such a beautiful, awkward. It's just a great movie. Futurist, or whatever. You just are interested in that and humans and stuff, because that movie will definitely become real. 100%. That movie is already becoming real. That offed himself very sadly because my girlfriend that was in a Game of Thrones character, I don't know, made him upset or something. I don't know the details there, but like that is absolutely already going to be a thing. I don't know. Movie recommendation: Her, superb. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Just it puts some things into a very interesting perspective.
Sure.
Us trying to think of what the machines would do. It's kind of folly, until we really talk to them. It's
Her, Carlos, Her, not heard. Yeah, that's the movie title, right?
Yes.
Her. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Her.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just didn't want you to go like try to find the movie Heard and it be something either non-existent or totally different.
I think Paramount Plus has it available.
Oh, okay.
If you have that. I go back and forth with dropping that one and picking it up. That subscription service. It's the one I prefer.
For sure.
Every month I pick it up and drop it.
I feel like everybody's got that one. You have like different tiers of streaming services, ones that are like hardcore, you're never going to give them up, ones that are like, I should get around to giving this up, but you don't. And then there's the one that you do like actually drop, but then you pick it back up and you drop it. And then you're like, damn it, just got something new I want.
Wasting. I've not been watching this at all. I'm going to say, I'm going to cancel this. And then you want to watch like one thing for a moment. It's back.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to go watch her again, I guess,
Yeah, I should watch it for the first time now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could watch it again. It's been a while. It's definitely been a while. Yes, Carlos, the one with Joaquin Phoenix.
Her. Yep.
Carlos, thanks for being here in chat. Appreciate you. You said a lot of things. I'm sorry we didn't get to more of them. It's been tough for me to both drink my alcoholic beverage and what both of you are saying and respond. So yeah, both being here and everybody make sure you give a thumbs up, a like, share, subscribe in all the places if you'd like. This is Ohio Anime. This will be on a regular podcast directories, so Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can find this under the Popcast on the Rocks banner or just Ohio Anime on YouTube. We're streaming live now on YouTube, which is where Carlos is right now. And we're also live on X, and any of those places is good. Make sure you check out our friends Killing the Flower on music streaming services. They're the theme to our main show, Popcast on the Rocks. And as we talked about at the top of the show, make sure you check out Mike's channel, TrackMouse34.
Yeah.
And
get it.
Track_mouse on Instagram. Yeah, lots of cool racing content there. And let's see, up next from us. So the sort of roadmap, we're coming to the end of the year. We should have 2 more episodes of Dune Prophecy to cover. And then the 2 more, and those will be the last ones. But this next week will be 2 episodes of Dune Prophecy. That's episodes 3 and 4. And then hopefully the week after that is the next 5 episodes of Don to Don. So that'll be on this show. We covered, I think, the first 5 episodes, kind of just get a gist of it. What do we think of it? All this sort of thing. Now the show is picked up and has been in a ways. So we'll cover the next few episodes of that. Then we wrap up Dune Prophecy. And then maybe it's Arcane. I don't know. Maybe a holiday special. Something like that. So, yeah.
Ooh, that'd be fun. I like it.
I know we did Black Christmas one. But
we did like a New Year's thing.
A holiday.
Because Christmas is tough. Like that's such like a busy time. So I think we did like a New Year's episode too. So could go for that as well.
Yeah, we can do dressed up, champagne, New Year's. Yeah. Try to get everybody that's ever been on the show coming in. Or maybe we save that for our anniversary episode. I don't know. Whatever. Mike, thank you for being here as well. It's been a long time, so hopefully we can get you back sooner than later for Arcane, if nothing else. Maybe one of these days.
Thank you.
We'll see. Yeah. But okay, and that'll do it from us. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Andrea, as always, and we'll see you next time. You know what? I have to hit end stream.
That helps.
Well, I'm used to Alan doing it. Yeah.